Welcome to our first live Teach Meet on this Microsoft's Global Connect Learning Day. We are happy that you can join us. And today we would like to tell you a bit about the journey Bresh has been on over the past few years. So joining me this afternoon for the first part is Tracy Heath, who's the Curriculum Innovation Mentor for the primary school, and Odin, who's the primary school head, Loredana Barello, who's the head of the high school, and Kevin Smart, who's the curriculum mentor for the high school. And I'm Lynette Crichton, and I'm the head of innovation and staff development at Brescia House. So Anne, will you get us started? We started the Showcase journey in 2014 as a showcase school with 4 MIEs. How important has innovation been as part of the strategic imperative of the board, and how has that stood us in good stead for this year?
Well, I think in 2014 and even before that, we actually started a one-to-one laptop program in our high school. We first started as a pilot program, and then it led into further grades having laptops. And now we have laptops from grade 6 up, and from next year we will have from grade 4 up. So the board, thankfully, has always supported us and done a wonderful job in supporting us and making sure that everything that we needed was given to the school, and the strategic team has worked very hard to make sure that this initiative has always come to fruition. And I must say that for the last 10 years, this has been a strategic imperative for the school, that we are able to have any IT strategy working well for the school. And thank you to our team, because they've made it possible to continue. In 2014, we had 4 MIEs. We now have 76 MIEs or 78 MIEs, if I'm not mistaken. So almost every one of our teachers is now a Microsoft expert teacher. So thank you to all the teachers for all that hard work as well. I must say we've had lots of training over the years, and the training has really stood us in good stead. And it certainly helped us when we now went into lockdown, because within days our teachers were able to be working with the girls on Microsoft Teams and do an absolutely wonderful job. So I think that it's really been worth our while to be part of Microsoft. And thank you to Microsoft, because they've also supported us and allowed us to go to conferences overseas, which also helped us on our journey. So many of these things have helped us to become the school that we are today.
Thanks, Anne. So Tracy, over these years, Anne touched on them, we've done many professional development initiatives. Can maybe you tell everybody some of the things that we've done with our staff that has led us to today?
So starting many years ago, we started doing professional development with our staff, one-offs on afternoons, beginning of terms, we would do staff professional development. We introduced robotics using Lego Mindstorms, and it was a bit of a team competition. And the teachers just got a bit of an insight into what IT was about and the future of IT. And I think that's fundamental, is that we keep striving to show our teachers what's coming next, so that they can feel like they are learning and almost ready to try new things. A very important part of our professional development was introduced in the primary school a few years ago, and then in the high school, and that was the weekly professional development. This was done in various ways, and the staff initially did not see the value in what they were doing. But this year, I've had many staff members come and say to me, thank goodness we've done that, because it put them in a position to move into online teaching with many, many skills that they had never ever thought that they would use. We also had a goose chase day at the beginning of this year, where we set up various places around the school. Our teachers learned to do green screen. They were doing some coding. They were learning all kinds of different skills that has allowed them to have an even bigger skill set for this year. Some of our teachers have also been fortunate to go overseas, so we've had teachers visit ISTE, opening new horizons, as well as some of our Microsoft educators going to the Microsoft international conferences. And then, of course, there are TeachMeets, which we have done termly for the last few years, and our staff are asked to attend these meetings. So not only are we sharing our ideas with other people, but we're doing them locally with our teachers at all times. And forearmed is forewarned. Our teachers were introduced to Microsoft Teams at the end of last year. It was right at the end of the year. The teachers were tired, and we insisted we needed to do that. We then went on to do more Teams training during January and February, and thank goodness for that, because we went online in 3 days.
Thank you, Tracy. So Loredana, maybe you can tell us, we went home for the weekend, and by Monday morning, the president had said schools were closed, lockdown, level 5, nobody was going anywhere. What does it take a showcase school from a physical building to online in 3 days, as Tracy and both Anne alluded to? And then as we came back, this hybrid situation where not all our girls could come back to school.
Yes, thank you, Lyneth, and good afternoon to everyone. So the challenge was up, and we met the challenge by actually just coming together as staff teams. So we knew that we had to look at our timetable, first of all, because the timetable structured as it was geared towards face-to-face teaching. And so we collaborated on Microsoft Teams, putting together what our needs would be per subject, so that we knew what we needed to go forward. So we put together a new timetable structure with different time allocations per subject and different initiatives like registration groups and assemblies, etc. And once we had the structure, then the teachers populated that structure by putting together a work plan. So almost like a scheme of work. So they knew what they had to teach when, and what they needed to assess. And so the assessment schedule was populated, a teaching plan was populated, and thereafter it was a case of transferring the teaching and learning onto an online platform. So whatever the teachers had in different formats, all was transferred onto the Microsoft Teams. And so classes were created, all learners were, they had already been on different teams, but different sections of those teams and different folders were created so that the teachers could actually transfer learning and teaching resources, everything onto those folders. And after that, we were good to go. So we had the plan, we had the time, we knew what we had to do, and we then just switched over onto the platform. So it was a steep curve, a quick steep curve, but it really was a blessing that we were grounded already on the Microsoft platform. So it was a matter of transferring what we had done so that everybody was now on the same platform.
Thank you, Loredana. So Kevin.
Sorry, hybrid.
Hybrid learning, yes.
Sorry. So
the new challenge.
The journey continued, or the challenge continued. So after a few months, we came back in a phased approach. So we had some grades at school while others were still at home. And so we entered into the next challenge, which was the hybrid teaching and learning. And this meant that the teachers came back. We started with grade 12s only. Teachers came back to face-to-face teaching, but there were still some grade 12s that were at home, and then the rest of the grades were still doing the online program. The ones that were here at school, the teachers had to get used to teaching a class face-to-face while at the same time being connected online through our Promethean boards, so that the lesson could be recorded, that the teacher would still connect with the people that were online, and they would get exactly the same lesson that the children in the class were receiving. The lesson also recorded in case anyone wanted to go back on it again, And so we were doing both on-site and online teaching at the same time. That took some getting used to, but it was great that we were doing it with one grade at a time. So by the time we phased in with the other grades, it became something that we did quite automatically.
Thanks, Loredana. So Kevin, a year ago we started this innovation committee, who are the people who've put together tonight and who have, we will be telling you more about what they do in their lessons. You were part of that committee, but this year you became what we've called as the curriculum innovation mentor for the high school. Maybe you'd like to tell everybody what that's like and the journey we took 76 members of staff on to get them all their MIE status, their Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert status this year during lockdown, while there was not one of us on property. How they put together their presentations and their applications.
So I must say this has been a very, very interesting year. Thoroughly loved the new position. Having started in January, not knowing that we were going to have complete lockdown and complete different way of doing things. But what's been exciting is the fact that we've had to learn every day, that we've had to stretch ourselves. I don't think I've had 2 days this year that have been the same. 1 minute you think you've got a live event working, and the next minute it crashes on you and no IT, no technology is working. I've really enjoyed working alongside our teachers to see how they've stretched themselves, to see how they've grown themselves. Some teachers who have been so afraid of the computer have now been flying with new PowerPoints, new presentations, new ways of doing their classrooms. And for me, that's been an exciting journey. And to see our teachers go on the journey to become MIEs, to really tackle that journey and to push themselves and to showcase what they have done has been a phenomenal experience for me. To see how the whole process that we divided everybody into smaller groups, and we had co-pilots for each group, and we then mentored the co-pilots mentored their group, and to watch how that whole process just developed and how everybody through that learned from each other and grew with each other. So for me, to see how Brescia House this year has come together as a staff, we have grown together, we have learned together, that has been so inspirational for me.
Thanks, Kevin. So the format for the rest of today's TeachMeet is that we're going to introduce you to more of our innovation members and some of our staff. We're going to show you their MIE video submissions, and a couple of the teachers covering from R to grade 12 are going to tell you what it was like in a hybrid classroom, in a remote classroom. We're going to showcase what they do. Please ask us questions on the Q&A of the Teams Live event. Please fill in our Flipgrid where you can leave us a video message. We also will have a form, and we'd love to know what countries you are watching us from, either live or when later on demand. We also, right at the end, we're going to take you behind the scenes. We're going to tell you about how the learning curve of Teams live events from April, when it was released in lockdown, to tonight's events, some of the events we've done through our schools, and we're going to show you, and we're going to turn the camera around and you can see where we're sitting in our staff room, how we've put together tonight's event and many more.